Hey guys, so today you and I are going to talk about job hopping. So let's get into it. So the question in question was, Frederick, I'm happy at my current job, but I've heard that you should change things up frequently to move ahead as a developer. Is it really necessary to jump from job to job to succeed as a developer? No, that is not necessary. The job hopping trend is usually down to a few things. So like usually there are two things that drives the job hopping. Apart, I mean, I'm not going to talk about the reason why you can job hop because that's like availability and supply demand and all this good stuff. But the main reason why people usually job hop is one because they want to increase their salary or have the potential to increase their salary as much as possible. Because when you're switching jobs, it's one of the best situations for you to actually raise your salary, simply because in many cases it's actually harder to raise your salary as an employee than it is to raise your salary as a new hire, because when you're a new hire you are in many cases able to negotiate your starting salary, and if you've had a pretty decent salary to start off with, then the likelihood of you getting a bump is higher, because the people who are hiring people, I mean, if you're really good, they're going to want to pay you to make sure that you actually say yes and you take the job. So that's a very good, it's a feasible, I'm not saying the best strategy, but it's a very feasible strategy to maximize your income. The other thing to it is the thing that I think that you should think about in your scenario, which is the relevancy. So relevancy is a very tricky thing because it ties into basically you and your dreams and ambitions and your market value and how much you care about that stuff. So there are developers who can go to, I mean, it doesn't have to be one of the top IT companies, but it can be many different types of companies that are really, really big. And for some developers that I know, they have been in the same company for years and years and years and years and years and years and years. And the thing is that these companies are so behemoth massive that even if there would be a downturn in the economy, the odds of them getting fired isn't all that high. And they kind of know the stack, they know the tools, and they don't really have a need to learn all the latest and trendiest things and so forth. In many ways, you can think about this a little bit as the stock market, where if you have a stock that is super, super stable and you invest heavily in that thing, well, sure, you might not become a billionaire or anything like that, but it's going to stay fairly stable. There's of course a risk as well, because if you're putting all your money in one place, it's all, I mean, chances are that there might be some shift in management or values even in these gigantic corporations, and they cut a bunch of staff. That can happen. And the thing that I like to say that is risky about that strategy is what I call the factory workers mindset, or the factory workers career path, where you go in with the mindset that I'm going to do this thing at this exact company for the rest of my life, and then you kind of just put on the blinds or the horse, whatever they are, I don't know, the thing that makes you just look forward, and then you just do your thing, and you don't evolve yourself, you don't grow as a person or whatever, and you start off when you're in your 20s, and then when you're in your 40s or whatever, or 50s, the factory shuts down, and now you can't find any other employment because you haven't actually grown your skills or experience. It's simply the case that you're, for all intents and purposes, in terms of value to a company, you are at the same spot you were when you started, which is a very dangerous thing if you want to spread your risk, because that's what it comes down to for you. That's what the real answer to this question: risk management. How risky is it for you to stay at the same job? If you are working in a company which, as I said, is extremely large, or it doesn't have to be large, it's just something where it's fairly stable, no, there's no reason for you to jump. The thing I think that you should consider is that is the relevancy of the skills that you are acquiring. So if you take a little bit of a look around and you do a healthy inventory of what's going on in the marketplace right now, in the IT industry, what are the tools that people are using? I'm not talking about necessarily the most trendy things in the world. I'm talking about in your region. What are most of the developers using? Go to like just a few like a meetup or two, or just check the job postings. What are the tools that people are requesting with from people with sort of your profile, and figure out where you are on the range of relevancy in your region. If you don't know half of the tools that people are looking for, well, then it might be the case that you're a little bit outdated. You might need to fix that somehow. That doesn't necessarily mean that you need to change jobs. It just means that you need to account for that, because as IT moves forward, the more outdated you get, it can in some cases work in your favor, of course, but it can also, as I said, it's risk management. Like, how outdated can you be, and how much risk are you willing to take on in order to not have to switch jobs or do that extra homework that a lot of developers do in their spare time. So just have a think about that. Just look around a little bit, because it might be that you're square in the middle, that you kind of go, yeah, I sort of know. I mean, I don't know all of this stuff, but and that's the beautiful part about it. You don't have to know everything. You just have to know enough of it so that if you want to switch jobs, or you get fired, or like there are layoffs, or whatever happens, you know that you have enough relevancy in terms of skills that you can do this job that you're doing right now at this company that you really like in another company. It's just risk management. That is what it comes down to. So what I want you to take away from this is that no, you don't have to do job hopping to succeed as a developer. The reason why a lot of developers do job hopping is of course, that it's fairly easy for a lot of developers, but primarily it's something that is driven by people who want to maximize their salary. That's number one. Number two is they want to do a lot of different stuff. Diversity, trying to try out different perspectives and roles and so forth. And in modern IT, having a lot of different experiences from different companies is a very good thing, as opposed to how it used to be, where being at the exact same company for many years was the best thing. It's now a little bit different. It's still valuable, but it's the way we view diverse employment versus being very stable in one location is a little bit different. So what I suggest that you do is, if you don't want to jump from your company, you really like working there, then go for it. Just do a little bit of self-reflection and take a look at your region and figure out, where are my relevancy? Like, what is my market value? Do I know roughly the sort of tools that everybody's using? If you do, then you don't have much to deal with in terms of risk. But if you're very outdated and you find that you don't know a lot of the stuff that's going on, then you have to make a judgment call. Do you feel that you want to just bet on that things are going to kind of stay the way they are for you, or do you want to do some learning in your spare time, or is it time to switch jobs just because you actually need to expose yourself to some new and relevant technology, just to keep that risk management in check? Have a great day.